So I think we'll go ahead and get started. I know people are joining as they get an opportunity, but we are welcoming everybody to the first ever Southern Piedmont Chapter Zoom Native Plant Society meeting. And so this is a first for me and some of our team for running a first meeting. So you might expect a few hiccups, but we're grateful to all of you for attending and for Sean and Vanessa for agreeing to be a part of this very first meeting and holding our hands along the way. So we're really looking forward to it. We did a little bit of research on ways to make the meeting run smoothly and wanted to share those with you. We are encouraging people to be muted during the meeting and use the chat function to ask questions. I know that Sean and Vanessa are probably very much more skilled, and we'll be keeping an eye on the chat to introduce questions into the meeting, and then we can also look at the chat at the end of the meeting as well. Other things that we've read are that if you care to turn off your video feed, it sometimes makes the overall bandwidth be more efficient for people. So if you're not presenting at that time, sometimes people do recommend that you turn off your video so that there's a lot of room for the meeting to go out to everybody. We are recording this meeting and hope to, if technology is good to us, post a link on our website for people to see it afterwards and to share with friends who missed the meeting. And I know from talking to Sean that he has a link to the trails that they're going to be talking about in the program. So you'll be able to digitally link to some of the trails that are mentioned. So we're looking forward to that. Before we get too far down the road or trail, I just wanted to mention next month's meeting, which is going to be at this same time on August the 13th. And we are really excited to be hosting a panel discussion with Dr. Larry Mellichamp and Paula Gross about their new book, The Southeast Native Plant Primer. And that book will be on sale soon. And you'll have an opportunity to order signed copies by the authors through the UNC Charlotte Botanical Garden, and also to participate in that meeting. That meeting will be for North Carolina Native Plant Society members only, and and also members of the UNC Charlotte Botanical Garden. Details will come out via our email list and will also be published on our social media channels and website in the next week or so. We're still finalizing a couple of details on the book sale, but we do think that'll be a really great meeting. This particular book that they have recently published is really directed to new gardeners. And so they have created lists and information and some of their favorite plants that for those just starting out. For those of us who have been kind of at home and looking at our own gardens. So we're really looking forward to that. And so for today's meeting, for those of us who've been at home and want to get out and explore perhaps in areas beyond our local greenways, which it's wonderful that so many people are out there. We are truly encouraged by that. But sometimes you want to have a little natural social distance and find some trails that maybe not everyone knows about. So for that reason, we have asked Sean Bloom and Vanessa Covington of Catawba Lands Conservancy and Carolina Thread Trail to join us and share some of their favorite trails. Sean comes to us as the GIS director and biologist and has been with the Catawba Lands Conservancy since 2011. And Vanessa joined the Carolina Thread Trail staff in 2012 as volunteer manager and engagement. So we are grateful to have both of them today. And this is going to be the tricky part of the meeting where I hand over the meeting to Sean and Vanessa. So forgive me as this becomes a little bit less than smooth. So that's what we're going to try to do. And Sean, I think it's your turn.
Hey everyone, am I coming through?
I can hear you.
Terrific, and everyone can see the screen?
We can see the screen.
Even better, great. Well, Beth, thank you so much for having Vanessa and I. Really excited for this presentation. And I've always appreciated the partnership that we've had with the Native Plant Society. You guys have been phenomenally helpful with some of our plantings at the Friday Meadow Bog, which was an interesting trip. I recognize a few faces from that. And also plantings out at our Seven Oaks Trailhead in our native pollinator habitat. So we've really appreciated the help you all have provided to us in the past. And I'm just happy to be here for your first ever Zoom meeting presentation. So that's really exciting. I want to let everyone know, first off, after this presentation, if you were just really excited about the Carolina Thread Trail and want to find some additional places to go hiking, please visit our website, carolinathreadtrailmap.org. It's a great tool. Here you can select what type of trail usage you're looking for. If you're interested in mountain biking or paddling or hiking, the difficulty that you're looking for. I've noticed a lot of folks were looking for nice, easy, flat walks, but I'm sure there's also some out there who are looking for something a little bit more adventurous. So you can kind of pick your adventure here. You can also select by the distance of the trail, location, or keywords. So there's a couple trails that have waterfalls, so maybe that's something you're interested in. But it's a great interactive map. And once you click on a trail, you will get a great little pop-up here, which provides all the details, trailhead information. And best of all, this website is GPS enabled. So if you access it from your phone, you can actually see a little blue dot show up where you're at and show where you are on the trail. So it's a great website. I encourage everyone here to go visit. But moving on, and I hope at this point now everyone sees the presentation. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, terrific. Let me just do a little magic here. There we go. And now we're at full screen. So we're going to talk a little bit here about some of the less traveled trails in the Carolina Thread Trail Network. I'm also going to note here, if you have any questions along the way, please feel free to type them in the chat box. We have Vanessa there who is going to answer most of the questions. But if there's anything specific about a trail or a plant that we're talking about, feel free to ask then, and Vanessa will chime in to let us know that that question is being asked. Yeah, so we were asked to prepare a list of trails that don't get as much activity, gives you a little bit more room to walk and hike and enjoy. So all these trails are less frequently visited, have large parking lots to allow you plenty of places to park, and they tend to be a little bit further out. So some fun adventures here. So first we're going to talk about some family-friendly trails. And the first one is the South Fork Rail Trail up in Lincolnton, North Carolina. One nice thing about, or a couple nice things about this trail, it's flat. The entire trail is a level grade gravel trail, about 2 miles long. Along the way, you'll pass this historic dam, and in the background, you have the old laboratory mill. Interesting story about that mill. It used to be a cotton mill, and then during the Civil War, the Confederacy took it over and turned it into a morphine mill, or into a morphine laboratory, and hence the name, the Laboratory Mill. On the other side of the South Fork River, so basically where we're standing in this photo, they had planted poppy fields, which supplied the poppy latex for the morphine. Now where those poppy fields were planted, eventually got converted over, and they planted bald cypress. So the first thing you see on this trail is a bald cypress swamp as you're coming down the trail, and then you'll pass by the laboratory mill here. Here's a great view of the trail. It runs through this really rocky, hard habitat along the South Fork River. So it's really reminiscent of kind of like a dry, rocky ridge up in the mountains. Just a couple more nice photos here. Interesting plants you'll see along the way, fire pink. There's lots of fire pink out here on these rock ledges. You'll also find climbing milk vine at the southern end of it. There's a population of Virginia spiderwort, which the North Carolina Natural Heritage Program or the state of North Carolina lists as endangered. And also included out there, if you know what you're looking for, is the dwarf-flowered heartleaf ginger, which is a really exciting plant that grows out there. Then next we'll come up to Catawba County near Catawba, North Carolina. This is Murrys Mill, and it's just a really fun place, great place to take the kids as well. Obviously we've got another historic feature here, the historic Murrys Mill, and the trail here runs along Murrys Lake, but then also crosses over the road and follows down the stream below the dam here. Really easy to get to, just off of I-40. This is actually below the dam, so you run through this really nice lush fern area here. Here's some views of the lake. I believe this is just below the dam. And the trail actually starts here at Murray and Minge's. It's a general store, great place to get some old-fashioned candy, local honey, toys, and also it's just a lot of good information. The folks who work here have a lot of information about the mill, the trail, and the local area. And along the way, you'll see a lot of plants you'd associate with kind of lakeside habitats, cardinal flower, golden club, swamp azalea, and then also some wild raisin out there, viburnum nudum. And then lastly, down in South Carolina, we get into the Lansford Canal State Park. And now this place is really well known for the rock shoal spider lily, which has already come and gone. It usually blooms late May through June. But there's a lot more to see out here than just the spider lily. Its namesake is the Lansford Canal, so all the old locks and structures are still out there. There's also this beautiful cabin on site at the trailhead, which also serves as the ranger station. This again is another nice flat trail that runs mostly right along the river. So all along the way, you have great views of the Catawba River. And this is one of the few free flowing sections of the Catawba River. So great views of that. And of course, you can't go there without thinking about the spider lily. Some other things that are interesting, I need to get down there and try to find it myself. There's eastern green violet growing down there, along with green dragons, which is just a really neat plant to see.
And for those who might be interested in kayaking, there is an easy put in or launch at the trailhead here at Lansford Canal State Park. And there is a takeout only a mile and a half south, still within Lansford Canal State Park.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Vanessa. Okay. Now these next three trails, we're going to get way out of the way here. We're going to the extreme reaches of the Carolina Thread Trail. The first one is the Rocky Creek Trail, all the way down in Great Falls, South Carolina. This is the southernmost portion of the Carolina Thread Trail network. About an hour, maybe hour and a half drive outside of Charlotte. I went down there last year and I was absolutely surprised by what this trail provided. Again, this is another easy trail to walk. It's about a mile and a half long, mostly gravel. But you got these great views of these Rocky Creek shoals. Let's see what else we have out here. There's also this really interesting waterfall. It's probably about a 30 foot cascading waterfall. That trail goes right by it. So just another really interesting site. And you got a nice sandy beach, which again makes for an excellent place to put in a kayak or a canoe if you want to go paddle on the Rocky Creek, which then will flow into the Catawba River. I will give everyone a heads up here with this trail. It mostly runs along an old sewer, not an old sewer line, but it runs along a sewer line utility. And so some places can be a little bit muddy, a little bit low lying. So just come prepared knowing that there are some sections where you have to dodge potholes or muddy holes out there, but otherwise it's really a great trail. You need to get down there and check it out. I really enjoyed it myself. And it was a great time. I went early spring, like maybe March, mid-March, and the hillsides were just covered in spring ephemerals. Wow, we are getting through these quick. I'm sorry. Oh, I should let everyone know as we go through these slides, and there will be a link to this presentation. We have the trailhead here, which is the address. I'll take you right to it. But if you want any more information on any of these trails, you can just click the link within the text. It's usually the first text here. And that will take you right to those Carolina Thread Trail map pages that we looked at earlier. This trail here, the Falcon Trail, it is up in Meisenheimer. Actually, it runs between Meisenheimer and Richfield, which is in Stanley County, kind of southeast of Salisbury, North Carolina, if you're familiar with that part of the Charlotte area. It's another natural surface trail. This one here, we're starting to get a little bit of terrain in it, so you got some ups and downs, but it runs through a variety of different habitats. It runs through open fields along the edges of some farms, but also goes through some hardwood forests. It also runs through Pfeiffer University. So you get everything here. You get open fields, hardwood forests, or not urban, but kind of small town. And it connects, like I said, the towns of Meisenheimer and Richfield. There's a couple of historical buildings along the way. And one plant, I have not gotten out to see this yet, but I just found out on iNaturalist that it was posted. It looks like Smalls Penstemon is out there, which I'm really excited to go out and see sometime. I have to get up there next spring to check it out. And Vanessa, do we have any questions so far?
No questions, but most of the audience who have submitted a question or a comment to my question are interested in easy 1 to 3 miles for natural surface trails, and some maybe 3 to 5 miles long.
Okay, yeah, well that's a lot of what we've been presenting here, so that's good to hear. And real quick, I'm gonna take a break, and we're gonna see if John can do some talking for us.
Sean, can we work on volume?
I think you have to share the video sound when you share the screen to hear it.
Up on this gravel road and continues down. Hey everybody, my name is John White. I'm the program coordinator for the Carolina Thread Trail. I'm here at the Falcon Trail out in Messenheimer, North Carolina. It's called the Falcon Trail because Pfeiffer University has been a major partner in making this trail a reality. The Falcon Trail currently extends 2.7 miles between Pfeiffer University in Meisenheimer and the town of Richfield. Soon, the trail will extend another 7 miles southward to New London and all the way to North Stanley High School. So you can see that the trailhead is adjacent to the baseball field and the pond in the park, which has a suspension bridge. There's also a disc golf course, very large parking lot. The trail starts off on this gravel road and continues down onto this dirt trail. And it's got a beautiful young mixed hardwood stand of pine trees, hickory, cedar, elm trees. So we're starting the hike along the south end of Curtail Creek below Richfield Park. The trail loops around, and we're actually going to start going up the north side of Curtail Creek upstream. We have arrived at the pond in Richfield Park, and geese? There are actually all kinds of birds here, including crows, great blue herons, probably some species of duck out here. Huge thanks to Bradford and Ruby Behringer for putting these 40 feet of the thread trail in place. The Falcon Trail now runs along the street and by all this gorgeous farmland, and is soon going to head back into the woods. Oh, there's a falcon right there. We've come to the current end of the Falcon Trail at Pfeiffer University, their athletic complex with the baseball field and the gymnasium here. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you out on the trail.
All right, well, thank you very much, John, for that. I thought that was a fun video there.
Hey, Sean, I did get a question about some Naturalist apps. And so do you recommend any other plant ID apps or apps that include plant identification in addition to iNaturalist?
Sure. Honestly, iNaturalist is the one that I default to if I need a quick and easy ID, or at least get me something that is close to an ID. I find that iNaturalist is probably one of the better apps out there for taking photos and getting a plant ID. Usually it'll at least get me to the correct genus, but does not give me a bunch of erroneous things that just make no sense if you know the plant. The other one I use is Floraquest, which is put out by UNC Chapel Hill, an app version of Dr. Weekly's Flora. That's an app for folks who know how to use keys, know their plant terminology. Otherwise, it can be pretty daunting. So I use those two in connection. So I'll use the iNaturalist to get me close, and then I'll finish up my identification with the Floraquest. And then I'll use the Audubon app as well for bird identification. Those are the three apps that I have on my phone right now for when I'm out in the field. And I saw another question in there while the video is playing. I'll note all of these trail miles that I'm listing are one-way miles. So expect that, for instance, the Falcon Trail, unless you have a car at the other end, it will be 2.7 miles out and then 2.7 miles back. So for your round trip, expect to double these miles that I have posted here. Okay. Now we're going to go way, way up into northwestern Iredell County, and this is just in the foothills of the Brushy Mountains. This is Love Valley. Really interesting place. It is a old Western town. So there are actually no vehicles allowed in the town of Love Valley. You have to park outside, walk in, or ride your horse into town. What that also means is the trails here in Love Valley, they are all equestrian trails. Hikers are welcome on them, but just be aware that they are not going to be in the same condition as some of our other natural surface trails that we're used to for biking and hiking. These are going to have road apples on them, lots of ruts from hooves. So just be sure that when you come up to Love Valley, you'll recognize that this is an equestrian trail and an equestrian town, and that you're prepared for such. But the trails do lead up to the top of, some of the lower peaks of the Brushy Mountains with great views to the south. there's better views than this, but this is the view that this is the photo I could find. Yeah, so if you're looking for a mountain trail, but don't want to drive all the way out to Asheville, or do not want to deal with the crowds of Crowder's Mountain or Morrow Mountain, then I recommend that you make the drive up to Love Valley, so that you'll be able to get your mountain hike in without the crowds. And yeah, just it's a cool little horse town there up in Iredell County. Now, lastly, these trails here are not easy trails. They are not. You're going to have to work for these trails if you want to complete them. The first one is Baker's Mountain Park. I do a lot of hiking. I enjoy hiking. I enjoy strenuous hikes. I did not get to the top of Baker's Mountain the first time I went out there. There are a lot of great trails around Baker's Mountain, and it's a really fun place to go visit, and it is a good place for the kids. However, the final trail, that final bit to the top of Baker's Mountain and to the overlook, is strenuous. But you are rewarded with these great views of the Piedmont here. But you can see the trail here starting that climb up to the top. It was steep. But along the way, like I said, nice flat trail or nice easy trails throughout the park as well. Oh, I missed the smiling tree. So two interesting things out there that you want to keep an eye out for. There is an old chimney, an old home site back in the middle of the woods there with a chimney that you can check out. And there is a smiling tree. There's an old pine tree, and someone has painted it to be this really big smiley face. I just call it the smiling tree. The kids loved it, and it's just a great sight to see out there. This is a monadnock forest. So if you're looking for something, again, similar to Morrow Mountain or Crowder's Mountain, but again, you don't want to deal with those crowds, check out Baker's Mountain. It's going to have very similar habitat and hiking experiences to Crowder's Mountain. Along the way, you'll see plenty of mountain laurels and rhododendrons. There is some wild ginger. A lot of different trilliums are out there as you get kind of along some of the streams that run through the park. Okay. Another trail that you'd have to work for a bit here is the Girl Scout Trail. I would put this one at a moderate, just because there's a moderate, maybe strenuous, just because there are some climbs out here on the Girl Scout Trail. Now, this is out at the Girl Scouts Horn and S Council's new campground or camp facility up just north of Statesville, North Carolina. And it actually runs through land that's been protected by the Catawba Lands Conservancy. And some interesting things along the way. You'll pass through, yeah, here we go. Here's some of those climbs that are out there. This is a great trail also for mountain bikers. So you have mountain bikers and hikers out here. But the trail does pass this hardwood bottomland swamp forest, which is kind of interesting to see, especially in the wintertime when it's all full of water. So the trail runs along the South Yadkin River, and there are some really nice views. There's actually a really nice overlook at the end of the trail, a little rocky outcrop that looks over the river. The trail also passes through some old fields, so you got a lot of those great sun-loving early successional flowers, black-eyed Susans, Maryland asters, white asters, oh goodness, coreopsis, just a lot of great sun-loving summer plants out there along some of those old field edges. Some other things that I really enjoy along this trail, there is white bee balm, which I don't see very often that grows out here. Our native rose, the Carolina rose, you can find that out on the Girl Scout Trail. And then bladder nut, which is a really cool little shrub. Gets those inflated bladder nuts on it for the fruit, hence the name bladdernut. Don't see that very often as well. So that's those are some interesting plants to keep your eyes open for along the Girl Scout Trail. And then lastly, we'll end with one of the newest trails to open, which is the Lake Welchel Trail. Now, this trail is part of the Over Mountain Victory National Historic Trail, which will eventually connect across 3 states. And it'll eventually connect Cowpens National Battlefield, Lake Welchel. Oh, and there's a third one there somewhere in Gaffney. I cannot remember the name of the other historic site out there. But this trail is a 6.7 mile natural surface loop. So this is the only time where you don't have to multiply that. It is 6.7 miles all the way around from end to end. And it makes a nice loop around Lake Welchel. Some interesting things here. Lake Welchel is actually the water supply for the town of Gaffney. It is usually pretty difficult actually to get public access around water supplies like this, especially since it's a smaller lake and it serves as the primary water source for a town. It's exciting that we were able to get a trail, a public access trail all the way around it. Additionally, there is boating access to this lake. So if you want to canoe and kayak, you can do that. I think they even allow very small motorized boats on Lake Welchel. As this trail went in, it crosses 2 fairly large creeks. And so there's some really cool bridges out there. There is a steel trestle bridge out there. And these are like 40, 50 long spans over some really pretty streams. So that's an interesting thing to check out. And the other nice thing is because of that length, because it's approaching 7 miles worth of trail, this is a great opportunity for someone who is looking for a nice long half-day hike. You can get your miles in here without killing yourself with steep climbs. And with that, I'll just make a slight plug here for the Carolina Thread Trail and the Catawba Lands Conservancy. If you're excited about what you've seen this afternoon and want to support either the Catawba Lands Conservancy or Carolina Thread Trail, we invite you to do so. Please, please, please do it before the end of July, though. We are in the middle of a matching campaign. So any donation that you make will actually be matched dollar for dollar up through July 31st. So we would really appreciate your support. This matching challenge applies to both the Carolina Thread Trail and the Catawba Lands Conservancy. So please do consider supporting us this month. And with that, Vanessa and I would be happy to answer any questions that anyone has. Or you know, if Vanessa has any other trails that maybe she wants to make a plug for, I think we have some time for that.
Yeah, and I just saw a question here. What is the difference between 2 organizations? I'm happy to answer that. But before I do, 2 other trails that I really like, and I'm not sure about the plant species. I know it's significant at the Farr Family Preserve, but that is only 20 minutes away from Charlotte, 20 minutes east in the town of Midland. And it's a beautiful 2-mile trail that somewhat feels like you are on. There are some sloping areas, and so it's a beautiful walk. I would say it's moderate as far as difficulty, and it runs along the creek there. Where it is also home to our first suspension bridge that we ever built, and so it's a pretty neat trail. And Sean, do you have anything to add as far as like the plant communities that are there at Farr Family Preserve?
Yeah, can you repeat the name of the trail, Vanessa?
Farr Family Preserve.
Okay, Farr Family Preserve.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Are we Farr Family or South Fork Trail?
No, Farr Family Preserve Trail.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so Farr Family in Midland, that's right, yeah. So some interesting plants out there. Let's see. Well, there is a lot of green dragon out there. Adamascus lily blooms out there. Lots of trillium, especially up near the trailhead. Within about the first 10 minutes, you are in a forest that's, especially in the early spring, the forest floor is covered with spring beauties, trilliums, Adamascus lilies. And then further up the trail, you get into all the green dragon. there is a huge, huge poplar tree out there, probably one of the largest poplar trees I've seen. Yeah, those are the plants that come to mind right off the bat.
Cool. And the other trail I really like is Kings Mountain Gateway Trail. It is in the town of Kings Mountain. It's a gravel trail for the majority of the way. And when it's not gravel, there's a portion that's paved and there's some natural surface, but it's wide. It's accessible. And what's unique about it is that it is on an old quarry site. And so it passes over I-85 through an old decommissioned bridge that the Corps used, which is pretty neat. And also on top of the trail, on the plateau of the trail, is a pollinator habitat. And I don't know the types of plants that are there because it was done separately with an effort in partnership with Duke Energy. Kings Mountain is its own 501c3, and we partner with them on this property for this segment of the Carolina Thread Trail. But there are 7 miles of trail that are available to you to enjoy. And it's about a 40-minute drive from Charlotte. So that's another one. I will type that into the chat, but it is Kings Mountain Gateway Trail. Well, and eventually that trail will connect to Crowder's Mountain State Park through the Boulders access. There are multiple access points to Crowder's Mountain State Park. And for those of you who know the Boulders access, this trail will eventually connect to that segment in the state park, which is pretty neat. So the difference between Catawba Lands Conservancy and the Carolina Thread Trail. So Catawba Lands Conservancy is a land trust, and they conserve land for 4 reasons. 1, to preserve our water quality and quantity. 2, for the biodiversity of habitat. 3, for farmland, so we have access to and can preserve access to food and preserve the agriculture that is here and that has been here for years and years in this region. And then 4, to connect people to nature. And the way we connect people to nature is primarily through the Carolina Thread Trail. So it is a trail project, but it's also a separate 501c3. And so the Carolina Thread Trail is only the trail organization for the Carolina Thread Trail. And so whereas Catawba Lands Conservancy works within 6 counties in North Carolina, Carolina Thread Trail works in 15 counties in North and South Carolina. So it encompasses an additional 9 counties in addition to the 6 that Catawba Lands Conservancy works within. So Carolina Thread Trail partners with 88 municipalities and 6 land trusts to bring 1,600 miles to fruition eventually. And one of those land trusts is the Catawba Lands Conservancy. It just so happens the establishment of the Carolina Thread Trail in the 2007 happened at the same time Catawba Lands Conservancy was looking to expand and have kind of a key project in the Charlotte region, as they are based in Charlotte, and so is the Carolina Thread Trail. So anyway, so 2 separate organizations. We do share staff resources. It actually saves like a couple $100,000 a year by sharing staff, sharing resources, sharing materials, tools, etc. So I hope that answers your question.
Yep. And let's see, I'm going back through here. Bruce Chapman, you asked, is it a cat face? I'm just wondering where you saw cat face.
This is Bruce.
Hi,
Shauna,
Bruce.
I come out of Florida, North Florida. We call it cat face, where turpentine has usually been extracted. It's left an indelible scar on the tree. It often looks like a cat's face.
Gotcha. Okay. And what were you, was there a photo that you thought you saw that on?
You mentioned a tree on one of the trails that had markings on it. That just popped into my head, Sean.
Oh, okay. I got you. No, it wasn't a cafe. So I was speaking of the smiling tree up at Baker's Mountain. No, it hasn't been carved into it. It's actually been, the face has been painted onto it. It's probably a Virginia pine, it looked like.
I see.
A dead Virginia pine. And as the bark was peeling away, someone just felt they needed a smiling face. So they painted one on.
The cat face is, it's human creation, but when the trees are left alone, it oozes this rosin or resin.
Yeah.
And creates real interesting feature on a particularly a longleaf pine, which I'm familiar with.
Okay. Yes. Well, very good.
I see here what percentage of trails are complete. So of the 1,600 miles of planned trail, we have almost 300 miles of trail. So that's paved trail, natural surface trail, in some areas sidewalk connections, and then over 170 miles of blueway, which are also known as river trails, that are complete. And so we have a ways to go, but mile by mile. As long as people ask when the project will be complete. And so we always say, hopefully sooner than later, but the more people that use trails, the more investment trails get. So hope that answers your question. Any other questions? If anyone is interested in kayaking, there are, to me, I moved here, 13 years ago from Chicago, but there are a surprising number of access points along 3 major rivers we have in this region that I was completely unaware of, and even most of, my husband is a Charlotte native, and he's pretty outdoorsy and was pretty unaware of all the access to the waterways that we have in this area, which really have only come about, majority of them recently, due in part because of us, Carolina Thread Trail, in partnership with our other land partners. But you know, there's the South Fork River, the Catawba River, and then the lesser known Rocky River, which is one of the only undammed rivers in this greater area. And so there are there's a lot of opportunity to get out on the water and view and experience the beauty of nature on the water. So if anyone is interested in that, we are very enthusiastic about our waterways. So if you're interested, chat a question in the box. You can look up blueways on our map. There are some outfitters that are available to you. So that's another option as well. Are there any kayak rentals going on now? So we don't actually have gear, so we don't have bikes or boats, but we have partnered with folks like Riverside Marina. They're in Belmont, but they have a trailer, so they can bring you boats, or you can pick up a boat from them. In Cramerton, there is Suns Up Scuba, primarily a scuba company, but they also have boats where you can take a boat from them and bring it back to them. There are some other outfitters on the Rocky River. There's River Roosters. They're fabulous, and they know every foot of that river there. And so there are a few other ones, but those are the 3 that are most popular in the area.
Yeah. And Ellen asks if the trails mentioned today are dog leash friendly. And as far as I can remember, every trail that was listed is dog leash friendly. Only caveat I might put is Love Valley. I don't know for certain if that is dog friendly or not. I myself would be less inclined to take my dog up there just because of the number of horses that are on that trail.
You can look up kayak access points on our map, CarolinaThreadTrailMap.org. If you just click on the filter for paddling, it'll pull up all the different access points on the 3 rivers. So you have the South Fork that feeds into the Catawba, and then you have the Rocky River on the eastern side of our region.
Liz, yes, we'll get information out about the access points and kayak rental companies that are available.
Yes.
It looks like we got a few more minutes, Beth, if you have anything else, or I was also going to offer up if anyone has some other trails that they may know of that they had some questions about.
While people are thinking about that, Carol asked me to mention that our next meeting is August the 9th, not the 13th. So it's the second Sunday. It follows on our normal schedule of the second Sunday in the month. So please forgive me for getting that wrong. but you'll get lots of emails and you'll see it on the website with the correct date. And I think, Sean, as we said, in our next email that goes out, we will also share the link that you created for this story map, I think you called it, so that we can all quickly see the photos and the links for the trails that you shared. So that'll be a great opportunity for us to find these trails and explore them as the summer goes on and we're still not gathering. So it's a great opportunity for us. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you both. I bet.
You're welcome.
Are there a
And in
couple?
fact, let me do this right now. I've just shared out feel free to place it in your email, but for those who want to go back through, I've just placed the link in the chat now for this story map.
And Vanessa, you're putting in some of the vendors that you all use?
Yes. Yeah. So there are 2 right on the South Fork River, Suns Up Scuba, Floating Goat. They're in Cramerton. They're actually across, but one's in Cramerton, one's in Belmont. And then the other one is Riverside Marina in Belmont, but it's on the Catawba River, so not the South Fork. And then River Rooster is the one on Rocky River. Sorry, I realize every time I hit return, instead of going down a space, it sends it out. So my apologies.
Yeah, and there's also a new one, Vanessa, I'm not sure if you're aware of them. For those of you who want to try out paddleboarding, there is a paddleboard trailer that gets pulled down in Mount Holly at the marina there, just in town in Mount Holly, across from the Whitewater Center. So if you want to give paddleboarding a try, you can rent a paddleboard there in Mount Holly as well. And that puts you right on to the Catawba River, north of the Whitewater Center, get you pretty close to Long Creek as well.
Oh, since we're talking about rentals, so in addition to going out to these outfitters, we actually host our own programs. And so y'all are welcome to join in any of our public programs. In a normal year, we host fitness walks, nature hikes, kayak trips, bike and brews, bike tours, sunset bike rides. Currently, we have just started to host only our bike rides and our kayak trips. And so I do know we're having one next Sunday. It is full. However, I think the one in August, there might be a few spots. Each of these programs do have limited capacity, so registration is required. And so hopefully we'll be able to offer these types of programs more frequently, and hopefully eventually offer a variety of programs than just the bike rides and the kayak trips. But those are open to the public. The kayak trips do have a fee on it, $25, that goes directly to the Catawba Riverkeeper Foundation. We use their boats, but all of our hikes and bike rides are free to attend currently. We look forward to having you on one of our little adventures. Thank you.
Well, thank you both. This was fabulously informative and challenging, and gets us all excited to get back outside, even if you do have to go early in the morning to survive the heat. But this was really fun. And as I said, our next meeting is August the 9th, back here on Zoom, and we're looking forward to Paula and Larry sharing with us some of their top 5 favorite native plants in a variety of categories, such as top pollinator plants, top shade plants, top ground cover plants, and many more. And we know that will be a wonderful program, and great to hear and see about their new book. So thank you all for bearing with us through this first Zoom for our chapter. And if you have any questions, suggestions of other Zoom ideas or other meetings as we navigate our way through COVID reality, we really appreciate your patience, your enthusiasm, and your passion for native plants. So we're going to sign off now, and you can reach us through social media, through the newsletter, and through the website. So thank you all today for joining us, and we really appreciate it. Bye for now.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thank you so much for having us.